Assalamu alaikum students. Today we will be studying about the chapter Sustainable Management of Resources. Okay. So what do you mean by sustainable management? Sustainable management is nothing but how you are sustainably using the resources. Okay. You are conserving the resources as well as you are using them. So that is nothing but not over exploiting the resources. Over exploiting is nothing but overusing the resources. So we need not overuse the resources, but still we can save, that is conserve and use the resources, right? So this chapter is all about that. The resources are nothing but the petrol, wildlife, diesel, forest, water, all these things, right? So these are the resources which we people need to not use over exploitly and use conventionally. Next, introduction. So the question is how we are currently using some of our natural resources. So how are we using these natural resources? We are actually over exploiting them. So in today's rate, the vehicles are more, right? The power plants are more. Because of that, the resources which we are using, the quantity is also increasing, right? So we need to sustainably use these resources. So how some of our natural resources like forest, wildlife, water, coal and petroleum can be managed for sustainable development along with an input from our traditional practices. So how can we save all these resources, that is wildlife, forest, diesel, coal, petroleum, all these resources, how we can save by using the traditional practices. Traditional practice is nothing but all our traditions say that we need to always conserve the resources, right? We need not over exploit them. We can conserve the resources, we can save the resources for future generation and then we can use it, right? So how we can use these traditional practices to save the resources. Next, Ganga Action Plan. Ganga Action Plan is nothing but it is a multi-crore project, right? So the quality of Ganga, it has decreased, that is it was said unfit for drinking, right? It was concluded that the Ganga water is not fit for drinking purpose, right? So that is called as Ganga Action Plan. It was taken in 1985. So in this Ganga Action Plan, what happened is there were some people who were voluntarily working and also the government which was working to make the Ganga water fit for drinking, right? So the coliform is a group of bacteria found in human intestines whose presence in water indicates contamination by disease causing microorganism. So coliform, this is also very important question for 1 mark. So coliform, it is a group of bacteria. It is a bacteria which is found in the human intestines. So when this bacteria is seen in the human intestines, so what it indicates is it indicates the contamination, that is the water which we are drinking is contaminated. Okay, so the coliform bacteria, it was found in Ganga river, that is it showed that the Ganga water is unfit for drinking. Okay, so there are 5 R's to save the environment. As I said, there are various resources which we are over exploiting, right? So by using these 5 R's, we can save the environment. We can use these 5 R's to save the environment. First one is the refuse. So first R is nothing but refuse. Refusing is nothing but saying no to the things. Okay. For example, plastic bags. We can say no to the plastic bags, right? We need to refuse the use of plastic bags. So whenever the shopkeeper is giving a plastic bag to the customer, so the customer can refuse it and not use that plastic bag. So first one is the refuse. Say no to the things that you do not need. So we do not need the plastic bags. Instead of plastic bags, we can use some other bag, right? So we need to refuse the use. Example is plastic bag. Next is reduce. Reduce is nothing but using less. Okay, we need to reduce the use of it. Okay, so using less amount of that particular resource, we can save it. Example is save electricity by switching off unnecessary fans and light, repairing the leaky water taps, etc. So we need to reduce the use of electricity, right? So whenever we don't need that fan, or if we don't need that tube light during the daytime, we need to just off it. So that is the reducing or using less amount of electricity. Next one is the repairing the leaky water taps. So water taps, whichever they are leaking, we need to repair them so that we can save some water. Next one, reuse. Reuse is nothing but using again and again. Okay, use things again and again. Example, plastic bottles in which you buy various things like jam can be used to store some other things. So we Indians are best at it. So we need to reuse the things. For example, the plastic bottle which consists of the jam or some other thing. So after finishing the use of it, we can use it for some other purpose, for saving some other things, right? Repurpose. When product cannot be used for the original purpose, use it for some other purpose, right? So when for example cracked crockery can be used to grow small plants and as feeding vessels for birds. So normally, why do we need the crockery? For the dinner purpose, or we need the cups, teacups, right, for drinking tea and all. So so if at all they are cracked, and if at all we are not using it for drinking purpose or eating purpose, what we can do is we can plant some small plants in it, or we can use it as the feeding vessels for the birds, right? So recycling things like plastic, paper, glass and metal items to make required things instead of synthesizing or extracting fresh plastic, paper, glass or metal. So recycling is nothing but using the old paper, metal or glass and making the new paper or new plastic or new glass out of it. So that is called as recycling. So these are the 5 R's which can save our environment. If we follow these 5 R's, we can save the environment. These 5 R's can be asked for 5 marks. Okay. So why do we need to manage our resources? So what is the need of managing the resources, right? Resources are not unlimited, and with the population increasing at a tremendous rate, the demand for all the resources is increasing at an exponential rate. So this is the very first thing why we need to manage the resources, right? So as the population is increasing, the demand is also increasing for the particular resources. Example, coal, diesel, petroleum. So as the population is increasing, the vehicles are also increasing. Because of that, the petrol which we are using, that is also increasing, right? So the demand is more, but the resources now they have come to extent, right? So there are very less resources available. That is why we need to manage the resources now. Management should also ensure equitable distribution of resources. Equitable distribution is nothing but when we are managing the resources, when we are giving the resources to someone, it should be equitable distribution. That is nothing but it should not be like only the rich are getting it and the poor are not getting the benefits of that resources, right? So equitable distribution is nothing but distributing the resources to the rich and poor equally. Okay, so that is distribution of equitable distribution. The damage which is caused to our environment while these resources are extracted. Example, mining causes pollution because of large amount of slag which is discarded for every ton of metal extracted. So what happens is, during the mining process, the slag is nothing but the dirty water which is coming out from the mining mills and all. So that water, it is sent to the rivers. Okay, it is dumped in the rivers. All the waste which we are getting from the industries, that is dumped in the rivers, right? So that is causing damage to our environment. So we need to manage the resources so that we are not damaging the resources. Okay, traditional ways to manage the resources. As I said in my first slide, there are some traditional ways how we can manage the resources. Okay. So during Vedic period, both productive as well as protective aspect of forest vegetation were emphasized. This was the time when the concept of sacred forest and groves, sacred corridors and a variety of ethnoforestry practices were evolved. So during the Vedic period, what happened is, those people, they used to take the things from the forest, but they would not destroy the forest, right? So we are using something from the forest, but we are not even harming it. Right, so this is what was happening in the Vedic period. So what they were doing is, they were giving some sacred groves or sacred forest. Sacred forest is nothing but you cannot cut that forest. So even now you can go to some places and you can see there are some forests which are sacred, where you cannot oppose or produce deforestation. Okay. So during the Vedic period, all these practices were going on. So it is constituted to the post-Vedic period, infused with the traditions, customs and rituals, and followed as means for protection of nature and natural resources. So according to the Hindu traditions as well, what happens is, they are saving some forests, some kind of plants, some kind of animals. So by these traditional practices, by these traditional rituals, what they are doing, they are saving the environment, they are managing the resources, they are sustainably using the resources. So from the Vedic period to this post-Vedic period as well, we are always thought to save the resources, to save the environment, to conserve the environment, right? So we always need to work for it. Next is the forest and wildlife. Forests are biodiversity hotspot. This is a 1 mark question. Okay, so what are biodiversity hotspot? This is the question which you can get. So forests are the biodiversity hotspots. Hotspot is nothing but you are getting variety of things over there. Okay, so biodiversity hotspot is nothing but in the forest what you get all the microorganisms, you get all the nerves which you can say, ferns you can say. All these things are present in the forest. You can see the plants, you can see the animals, you can see all the trees. So there are various kind of living organisms which are living in the forest. So that is why forests are called as biodiversity hotspots. So the stakeholders, they have asked the question for 2 marks. Who are the stakeholders? Who are called as stakeholders, right? So this is also very important. People who live in and around forest areas are dependent on forest produce, right? These are the people who are called as stakeholders, the people who are living in and around the area of the forest and they are dependent on the forest produce. That is, they are dependent on the forest for their food, for their livelihood. Okay, for example, they are using bamboo trees for building the shelter or huts. They make baskets out of it and they are selling the same basket on the roads and they are getting some money out of it and they are using it for their livelihood, right? So the people who are living in forest and around forest and they are dependent on the forest produce are called as stakeholders. Next one, again, who are called as stakeholders? The forest department of the government which owns the land and controls resources from forest. The forest department, as you can see during the Dandeli side and all, what you can see, there are some forest departments. Okay, there are forest departments who are conserving the forest. They are not allowing people to move into the forest. They are not allowing people to cut the trees, right? So those forest departments, those are also called as stakeholders. The industrialists who use tendu leaves to make beedis and those who with paper mills. So the industrialists which are using the forest produce. For example, paper mills. What do you need for paper, right? So that is coming from the forest. So again for the tendu leaves to make beedis, right? For the tobacco and all, what do you do? The people, they are dependent on the forest. So these industrialists who are dependent on the forest for their produce is called they are called as industrialists. That is stakeholders. The wildlife and nature enthusiasts who wants to conserve forests in its pristine form. So there are some people who are voluntarily working for this. Okay, there are some NGOs, there are some organizations who are voluntarily working for the to save the environment, to save the wildlife or the nature, right? So those people are called as stakeholders. So these are the 5 people who are called as stakeholders. Some approaches towards the conservation of forest. So there are some movements which have been taken place in the history. So for the conservation of forest. Okay. So the first one is Amrita Devi Bishnoi in 1731 sacrificed her life along with 363 others for the protection of khejri trees in Khejrali village near Jodhpur in Rajasthan. So in Rajasthan this movement had taken place where this woman Amrita Devi Bishnoi in 1731 along with 363 people, she worked hard. She sacrificed her life for the protection of khejri trees. These are the type of trees which are found in Jodhpur. The government of India has recently instituted an Amrita Devi Bishnoi National Award for Wildlife Conservation in the memory of Amrita Devi Bishnoi. So in her memory, the government of India, they have recently instituted an award, okay, for the wildlife conservation. This is also the one mark question which people can get. The Chipko movement or Andolan in 1970s initiated by Reni from Garhwal. So this woman Reni from Garhwal, what happens is she initiated the Chipko movement. Chipko movement is nothing but when the people what happened is there were some industrialists who had come to the forest and they were cutting the trees, and these people, they went and they hugged the trees. Okay. So this is called as the Chipko movement. Chipko movement is nothing but hugging the trees. Okay. So this was initiated by Reni from Garhwal in 1970s. Reviving of degraded Sal forest, Arbari forest in 1972 by West Bengal Forest Department. Forest underwent a remarkable recovery by 1983. So what happened is, so this Sal forest is nothing but the Arbari forest. So in that Sal trees were grown. what happened is after deforesting these sal forests, the area it was totally degraded and there were no trees growing. Okay, so the forest department, it worked hard to revive that forest, to make a recovery of that forest. So the remarkable recovery was shown by the forest in 1983. So as now we know about the forest, we know about the wildlife, how we can conserve them, how we can use them, and now it is about the dams. So large dams can ensure the storage of adequate water for not just for irrigation but also for generation of electricity. So the large dams are built by the government so that they can be used for the irrigation purpose as well as for the generation of electricity. So the hydropower plants which are used by the large dams, so we can use that for generation of electricity and also for the irrigation purpose. So the canal systems leading from dams can transfer large amount of water over distances. Canal system is nothing but these are the small waterways which are connecting certain distances, certain villages. They are covering large number of villages, so that is called as canal system. So that water is used for the irrigation purpose by the farmers. The Indira Gandhi Canal has brought greenery to considerable areas of Rajasthan. So by using this canal system, especially this Indira Gandhi Canal, it has connected so many villages that it has brought greenery to the villages, because in Rajasthan you can see there is shortage of water, right? So because of the canals, they were able to bring greenery. That is nothing but they were able to use the water for irrigation purpose. Mismanagement of the water has largely led to the benefited cornered by few people. So mismanagement is nothing but during some times what happens is the government it offers the people, the village people to build a dam, right? They take the area from the people, they build a dam, but they are not but the people, they do not get anything out of it. Okay, there were some promises made by the government so that they will be giving some area in some other village or something, but they will not be benefited by that. So that is nothing but the mismanagement. So the three problems for building large dams are: first one is the social problems, displace large number of peasants and tribals without adequate rehabilitation or compensation. So as I said, the government it offers something to the tribal people which they are living in an area, and what happens is these tribal people give their land to the government and they build a dam. Okay, so the government has now built a dam. So what about these tribal people? So there were some promises made by this government so that you will be getting some other area in some other village, or you will be getting so much and so much compensation, right? But these are the social problems which people face actually. So they will not be getting whatever they have said. Okay. Next one is the economic problems, because they swallow up huge amount of public money. So to build the dam, so huge amount of money is required, right? So the economic problem is they swallow up huge amount of money. To build a dam, large amount of money is needed, which is actually not given by the government sometimes. Environment problems, because they contribute enormously to deforestation and loss of biological diversity. So the area required to build a dam is very large, right? So that leads to the loss of habitation. So the habitants which are living in that area, those have been removed from that area to build a dam, right? So that leads to the deforestation or loss of biological diversity. Water harvesting. So what do you mean by water harvesting? Capturing the rainwater for future use. So we are capturing the rainwater for future use, to use it in future, right? Methods of water harvesting in India. So this is also a 3 marks question which you can get. So there are various ways in India so that the water harvesting is taken place. Khadins, tanks and nadis in Rajasthan. So these are how the water harvesting techniques are built in India. Okay, so in Rajasthan it is khadins, tanks and nadis. Bhandaras and tals in Maharashtra. Next one, bundis in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. Ahars and pines in Bihar. Kuls in Himachal Pradesh. Eris in Tamil Nadu. Surangams in Kerala and Kattas in Karnataka. So these are the various methods of water harvesting across India. Now the coal and petroleum. Now we know about the wildlife, we know about the forest, we know about the water. What about the coal? So coal is used in the, it is majorly used in the power plants, right? So large amount of coal is required for the generation of electricity. So these were formed due to degradation of biomass millions of years ago, and these are resources that will be exhausted in future no matter how carefully we use them. So we have used carefully to the large extent, okay. So the formation of coal, it requires millions of years, okay, degradation of so many things, and it requires millions of years. But the exhausting, that is using of the coal, it happens in minutes, right? We burn 1 kg of coal in just seconds of time or minutes of time, right? But the formation of that 1 kg coal, it takes millions of years, right? So now we have used the coal to the large extent. So no matter how carefully we are using it, we are going to exhaust them. It is estimated that the petroleum will last for another 40 years and coal will last for another 200 years. So this is an estimation which is made. So petroleum, it will last for another 40 years, okay, and the coal will last for another 200 years. When these are burnt, the products are carbon monoxide, water, oxides of nitrogen and oxides of sulfur, leading to pollution. So by using this coal and petroleum, what happens is there are some gases which are liberated, right? So these gases are nothing but the greenhouse gases, and they are polluting our environment. So the gases are carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulfur, etc. And whatever the coal what they say, ashes and all are present, so those are given out in water. That is why I have written water there, okay. So this is how the coal and petroleum, they are exhausted. So it requires millions of years to build them, but exhaustion of coal and petroleum, it occurs in very few times. So these are all the important topics which I have included in this video. I just hope you are clear with it. If at all you have any doubts, you can let me know in the comment section. All the best. Thank you guys.